Ever feel like you're drowning in information, but, still super curious and want to learn fast? Welcome to the deep dive. We take those sources you're interested in, boil them down, and pull out the key insights. Quick, thorough, no overwhelm.
Exactly. And today we're diving into a source one of you suggested, Chapter 1 of Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. It's titled, The Right to be Rich. Our mission: extract the core lessons, simplify the language a bit for today, and just chat about it conversationally.
Great, let's cut through the old-timey language. This first chapter hits hard with a core idea. Being rich isn't some luxury, it's something everyone has a right to. Okay, let's unpack that. Why does Waddles start so well, so boldly?
Well, for Wattles, wealth is way more than just cash. He sees it as a fundamental necessity for a truly complete and successful life. His argument is that developing talent, growing your soul, that requires things. And getting things, well, it takes money in our society.
So it's not just about superficial stuff, but having a foundation for overall personal growth?
Precisely. He explains that human development, mind, soul, body, happens through using things, interacting with the material world. And since money is, the main way we get those things, understanding how to get rich becomes like the most essential knowledge.
Okay, I get that. It's the means to the end of self-development.
Yeah, it's like he's saying to broaden your horizons, to learn to grow in whatever you're passionate about, you need the means that wealth provides.
Right. So after making the case that wealth is needed, Waddles then goes further and says we have an inalienable right to it. That sounds pretty radical. How does he justify that?
He starts with a really simple but powerful idea. The purpose of all life is development, constant growth toward its highest potential. If we accept that, and that we all have this inner drive to grow, then we must also accept we have an inherent right to achieve all the development we're capable of.
Okay.
And he directly connects the right to life with the right to freely use everything necessary for that full mental, spiritual, and physical unfolding, which for him equals the right to be rich.
This is maybe where some folks might pause and think, hang on, a right to be rich. Isn't that kind of selfish or materialistic? How does Waddles handle that potential pushback?
That's a natural reaction, yeah. But Wattles anticipates it. He clarifies that when he says rich, he doesn't mean just being content with scraping by. For him, no one should settle for less than what they can fully use and enjoy. Nature itself, he insists, is geared towards advancement and the expansion of life.
Ah, okay. So it's not a green light for greed, but more a perspective that limitation and scarcity aren't the desired natural state.
Exactly. Wattles firmly argues that every person should have everything that contributes to a life of power, elegance, beauty, and richness. And being satisfied with less than your potential allows, he actually calls that a sin.
A sin. Wow, that's strong language.
It is. It's like saying going against the current of life itself, wasting that potential. He defines a rich person quite specifically.
Right.
Someone who has everything they want for the purpose of living the life they are capable of living, not just hoarding stuff.
Got it. And he points out that modern life is complex, right? That even for an ordinary person to live fully, it actually requires significant wealth these days.
Precisely. It's not about excessive luxury necessarily, but having the means to meet the needs of a full developing existence in today's world.
Okay, then Waddles talks about this natural, innate desire we have to become all we can be. How does that connect back to the right to be rich?
He argues we're all born with this deep longing to fulfill our potential. It's an inherent drive towards self-realization. But to achieve that potential, we need to use things, tools, experiences, which requires resources. So we need to be rich enough to buy those things and access those opportunities.
So again, understanding the science of getting rich is presented as crucial.
Absolutely. It's fundamental because it directly enables our ability to flourish as individuals.
It's interesting how he links that very personal drive for self-improvement directly to the economic means. We often separate those, thinking wealth is purely material.
Right. And Wattles tackles that head on. He says there's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich. In fact, he sees the desire for riches as really a desire for a richer, fuller, more abundant life. And that desire, he insists, is praiseworthy.
Praiseworthy. He even says someone who doesn't desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. That's quite a statement.
Yeah, it's very direct. For him, it's as unnatural not to want a better life as it is not to want enough money to buy what you need for that life. It's like conformity and stagnation just aren't viable options for a growing human being.
Then he introduces an interesting framework, the 3 motives for living. What are those, and how do they fit into this whole wealth argument?
He identifies 3 key drives. We live for the body, for the mind, and for the soul. And crucially, he stresses that none is better or holier than the others. All three are equally desirable and necessary for a complete life.
So it's not about choosing between material wealth and, say, spiritual richness. They're intertwined.
Exactly. Wattles really emphasizes their interdependence. None of the three, body, mind, soul, can truly live fully if the others are cut short or deprived. He says it's wrong to live only for the soul while denying the mind or body, or just for the intellect, ignoring spirit and body.
Right, balance is key.
Yes, and he even mentions the disagreeable consequences of living just for the body's pleasures while neglecting mind and soul. It's a very holistic view.
I see. So wealth becomes the facilitator, enabling the full expression and satisfaction of all three aspects.
Precisely. Real living, he says, means the complete expression of all that a person can be through body, mind, and soul. And true happiness comes when all three are functioning fully and expressing themselves.
And he brings in the idea of desire here again, right?
Yeah.
As an unexpressed possibility.
Yeah, for Wattles, desire isn't just a whim. It's a signal of an unexpressed potential seeking realization, a function looking for performance. If you strongly desire something, it implies you have the capacity within you to achieve or experience it.
Okay, and how does that connect back to material things and wealth?
He gives really concrete examples. For the body to live fully, you need good food, comfortable clothes, warm shelter, freedom from excessive labor, rest, recreation. For the mind, books, time to study, travel, observation, intellectual companionship, art, beauty.
Makes sense.
And for the soul, he says, the core need is love, and the expression of love often involves giving.
Ah, and this is where he makes a really key point about how poverty can hinder even the expression of love.
Exactly. He argues that poverty severely limits one's ability to express love fully. The greatest happiness, he suggests, comes from bestowing benefits on those we love. And love finds its most natural expression when we have something to give.
So you can't fully play your part as a spouse, parent, friend, or citizen if you lack the means to give, to contribute.
That's his point. It's through the use of material things that we find full life for the body, develop the mind, and unfold the soul through love and generosity. Therefore, he insists, becoming rich enough to do all this is of supreme importance.
And the chapter wraps up with a very strong restatement of this idea.
Yes, he finishes chapter 1 by firmly reiterating, it is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you're a normal man or woman, you can't help doing so. And it's perfectly right that you should give your best attention to the signs of getting rich, because it's the noblest and most necessary of all studies.
He even frames it as a duty to yourself, to God, or a higher power of the universe, and to humanity to make the most of yourself. That's a powerful way to end this introduction.
It really is. His logic is that by making the most of yourself, which in his view requires abundance, you render the greatest possible service to everyone. Your own flourishing contributes to the whole.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the core takeaways from Chapter 1. The central idea is this fundamental right to be rich, because wealth is essential for our full development, physically, mentally, spiritually. The desire for wealth isn't bad, it's a natural urge for a fuller life. And poverty actively limits our ability to live completely and express love.
Exactly. This chapter really sets the stage for what he'll build on these practical principles, this specific science for achieving wealth. It's a perspective that even today can feel quite surprising, maybe even challenging for some.
No doubt. It definitely makes you question your own assumptions about money and its role, and it certainly leaves you curious about this science he promises to reveal in later chapters.
Absolutely. It leaves us with a key question, really. How does your own definition of a rich life stack up against Wattles' view? And maybe what parts of your own development might be unlocked by pursuing greater abundance?
That's a great thought to chew on. Thanks for this deep dive into Wattles' first chapter. We hope this gave everyone some valuable food for thought. And definitely join us for future deep dives as we keep exploring together.